The Netcare Group has businesses in South Africa and the UK. Apart from hospitals, it also owns Netcare 911 and Medicross.
Yes, so whereas Mediclinic to some extent has its roots in the Afrikaans-speaking doctor community of the Western Cape, the Netcare industry really comes out of businesses in the Gauteng region started by Jewish doctors and the consolidation of those interests into this powerful listed entity.
Market cap 58 billion rand. We've got a PE of 23.59, dividend yield here 2.16. Netcare, in terms of comparing it with the Mediclinic proposal, how would you weigh them up against one another?
Well, Netcare basically comes out just short of Mediclinic, obviously a smaller group. But I think from the local domestic market, you know, they're quite an established brand. I think you see them with Netcare 11, so which is always good for them. Dividend yield slightly better, obviously demanding a little bit more on the PE side. If you looked in terms of their revenue, basically 10%, but their headline earnings are far much better than that, doubling. Year to date, in terms of performance, lagging behind Mediclinic, but for the year they have been up 21%. So from a momentum perspective, I think Netcare provides a very good opportunity, just under 40 rand it would.
Your choice in the sector is Mediclinic.
Well, I don't know. It just sort of happened that way. But we have liked Netcare and we've generally been very supportive of them. The interesting thing was that shoot higher that we saw with Netcare was a function of them in part having resolved some financing issues of the properties associated with their UK business. Because remember, they bought into General Healthcare Group before the financial crisis. They were going to offload the properties, then they couldn't. Then they had a long-running battle with the banks and financiers on the property business. They decided in the end to keep it, deconsolidate it, all sorts of complicated financials. But largely now the UK property finance industry has recovered. So that's not seen as a negative now. It's seen as, if anything, potentially an opportunity for them. And that's where the share price suddenly got cracking.
Is this one of the staples that one should have in a portfolio?
Certainly. I think if you were to look in terms of obviously sectoral picks within the health sector, Mediclinic and Netcare certainly will be those shares. So it's very, very like less volatile stock, but it might not shoot also the lights out, but we certainly like it ourselves. They have been expanding in South Africa, you know, in the outer skirts of your main provinces, or your main cities. I know in Limpopo, they're trying to get more beds. So certainly I think, you know, they've got leg to go up.
Risks to the story here, Paul?
Look, the fact is, and I think we should put this on the table now because we've only got 4 stocks to talk about, so we might as well take a little detour now, is what about the South African government and its National Health Initiative?
Which we haven't heard much about for some time.
Now look, I might be accused of being somewhat sunny and optimistic with regard to South African outcomes because everyone around me seems much more negative.
Do you think so? Joseph, do you think he's a little on the sunny side of things? Kind of everything's rosy out there from Paul Turan?
I think he's not far off. He's actually quite correct because remember, government is almost, you know, in a not real quandary, you know, in terms of the different sectors of the economy that are not doing well. Within the mining, they are seen to be interfering. Certainly with the health insurance, your private operators will come to say, well, listen, we need to understand the model. There need to be clarity on policy. So it has been quiet. So I don't believe that, you know, it's going to affect the health industry quite soon because they're not doing well themselves.
Well, there we go. NHI is not going to affect the local health industry.
For me, anyway, the NHI is like the nuclear power program. It's something people like to talk about, but it's never going to happen because it's too expensive and they're not comfortable raising the tax base more aggressively with VAT and other things. Plus, the state facilities remain an enormous management challenge. So it's going to be politically very risky to be seen to tamper too much with the private solution. So I think it'll just kind of get kicked around.
So it isn't a risk in the broader scheme of things?
Yeah, and occasionally there'll be some grumbles from government about, you know, that it costs too much and that it's too exclusive and so on. But at the same time, look where the government ministers go when they get sick. You know, they check into their private clinics.
Hot or not, Joseph?
It is hot.
Hot or not, Paul, on Netcare?
I like Netcare. The management team under Richard Friedland remains very solid. It's doing good things in the UK. It's a tough market, the UK. It's not doing all that well, but it's, you know, in recovery mode. So I think they'll continue to thrive and do well locally. They're the strongest player locally. I think it's a good
Hot across the board.